At 2000, sir. Like, we're already live right now, though.
All right.
Just so everybody's tracking, Colonel Ward picked this song, so he said play some Easy E. So I said, "Aye, sir."
That's right, man. Take me back a little ways. Take me back.
Place where my homeboys chill. The fellas out there making that dough. I pulled up in my 6'4".
Oh,
The king with a 40 and I started drinking. And from the paper.
Good evening to all the listeners out there. This is another episode of Real Time Real Talk podcast with the sole proprietor being yours truly, Michael Valentine Williams. Every day is a good day. Every day above ground is a good day, and prayer is primary. So if everyone will bow your heads real quick. Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for everything that you've done for us. We thank you for being almighty, all sovereign, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Thank you, Lord, for you get all the glory in this episode. You get all the glory in this podcast, because it's nothing of myself that I've done, but it's everything that you have done. Lord Jesus, we thank you for everything that you've done. Let this evening be a great evening of conversation, that someone can hear something that be said or done to help brighten their day, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, educationally, if that's a word. In Jesus Christ's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. We have a special guest with us, episode 003. He is the GOAT. Really doesn't need any introduction, but we're just going to give him an introduction anyways. It goes something like this. Bad.
Too much, Mike. Too much.
Without further ado, we're welcoming to the podcast, Real Time Real Talk podcast, Mr. Brad Ward.
Thanks, Mike. That's awfully kind of you, brother. I appreciate you having me on. I really do. I don't know about all that other stuff, but I sure do appreciate you asking me to be here with you this evening, and everybody else, anybody who's out there.
Yes, sir. Literally, all my ears just registered was bad. So, sir, like, what's been going on, sir? Like, tell the people, like, how, like, what you've been up to these days.
Well, I'm in retirement now.
Okay.
It's funny, it was a little different than I thought going into retirement.
Right.
I had these big thoughts on how retirement might be and being out of uniform and all that, but it didn't take me long. I ended up getting a job. I work now for Marine Corps Junior ROTC.
Mm-hmm.
So that's consuming a good bit of my time. But Debbie and I came back to Texas, which is where we both grew up, and
Right.
our oldest daughter and our grandchildren are here. So
okay, nice.
Yeah, that the gravitational pull to this area was unavoidable. So here we are, and we spend most of our days. Though I said I finally did get a job, for a long time I had not, and we spend most of our time with the grandchildren. They're about 25 minutes down the road from us, a little south. We're in Beaumont, and they're in a place called Port Neches. So
Okay,
yeah,
nice. Real
yeah.
nice. Well, sir, I guess I can give you a little rundown of what I've been up to. So obviously I created a podcast, sole proprietor of it. I started it from scratch. I do have a team that has been assisting me. I launched last week, January 20th. Shout out Martin Luther King Jr. Because
All right.
where there is no vision, the people perish, sir. So like, I got the vision and I started writing it down and taking notes and everything, and here we are. But obviously, since you have been away, like I finished my successful tour as a drill instructor this last February 2024. So I have my drill instructor ribbon. I did 6 cycles. All of them were with the hotel company. So that's where I'm at right now. I have orders. I PCS to Camp Pendleton in May, and the biggest blessing right now is me and my wife. We just closed on on our first home, so we'll be moving into our first home here soon.
We're in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
North Carolina. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's congratulations. That's a big deal, isn't it? That is a big deal. And I mean, heck, so that's a big deal in and of itself. But then just finishing a tour at Paris Island,
right.
that'll be something you'll never ever forget. Getting that ribbon and moving on. But so you're going to North Carolina. Y'all are going to North Carolina.
My family is. I'm going to
Right.
go to Pendleton by myself this time.
Okay. Okay. Now, how long do you think you'll? I mean, I know those are, I'm sure, 2 or 3 year years tour, right? I mean, you'll be there 2, 3 years, or will you be able to pull out there
Yes, it's
early?
36 months according to the orders.
Okay.
But I
Any?
am slated to go forward to here soon. I don't want to violate OPSEC or anything, but yeah,
Okay. All right. So then you believe that you'll probably do the full 36 months out there then?
most likely, yes, sir.
Yeah. And then you're going to try to get back to the East Coast after that?
So I have a couple of ideas in my brain housing group. So AMOI comes to mind, and then obviously going back to Camp Lejeune comes to mind. As of right now, those are the two things that am thinking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm at 15 years now this year. So by the end of my tour, my second tour in Camp Pendleton, I'll be at 18 years.
Oh, yeah. That's going to take you right up. Yeah. Okay. You got any idea on where, what AMOI, what schools? I was in MOI, so I know the
Right.
duty.
I've been looking at the consortium for NC State, Duke, and the trash Carolina Tar Heels. You know, I'm a Duke fan, so they just won today. They beat Wake Forest by like 7 points on the road. So
All
shout out to
right.
the Duke Blue Devils.
We're good. Yeah, that's great duty. That really is. That's really good duty. You'll enjoy it.
Right. Yes, sir. So I want to get into it, sir. Just ask you some questions and everything, and then we'll get to it. So my first question for you, sir, is what inspired you to join the Marine Corps, or what inspired you to join the military, and how did you choose your branch?
Yeah. Okay. I was like, probably most kids, young kids in high school. I was having fun, sports, hanging out with my friends, things like that. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have any, crazy, incredible story about my grandfather storming the beaches of Iwo Jima or anything like that. I needed something to do, with my life after high school. I knew at that point probably wouldn't be going to college immediately anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps' bravado, the uniform, the physicality of it, the toughness, the reputation, that was really kind of enough for me. That pulled me right in, and so that's how I got started. But then, so I go to recruit training, and boot camp for me, I'm guessing like a lot of people that don't have any real military in the background, certainly not Marine Corps. I didn't. My dad was in the Army
Okay.
for a brief period, but so
Right.
I didn't know what to expect at boot camp. Other than I guess some movies I'd seen.
Right.
But I was really hooked. I left recruit training, and I was hooked. I fell in love with the discipline aspect of it, the focus, and of course, still go back to the uniform. The
Yes,
uniform
sir.
gets most of us, I think. So, and my drill instructors, senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Curtis Malone, and drill instructor Sergeant Alan Lee, both those Marines had a huge impact on me, and I knew leaving boot camp that it was something special. In fact, I left boot camp believing what I'd been told. I bought into it. Whatever I did, whatever I do, reflects for better or worse on the Marine Corps, and I still believe that way. I preached that a lot through my whole 36 years in the Corps. I think it's important for Marines to remember, and it's something I always kept in mind when we're in public, when we're at the airport, we're at a grocery store, we're at a family gathering,
Yes, sir.
wherever we might be, we could potentially be the only Marine that some people in that crowd have ever seen. And I've always kind of
Right.
taken that to heart, and so I think that we ought to conduct ourselves accordingly. So anyway, nothing special got me into the Marine Corps other than I thought, it's the toughest and best looking uniform and all that. So off I went and fell in love with what I fell in love with.
Right. That's good. So another question for you. So corrective action for Marines, right? Are you the give them paperwork type leader or the non-paperwork to correct the deficiency or misconduct?
For those of you who
Well,
know
wait,
me,
let's
know
just
me.
answer it like as you would if you were answer it from the enlisted ward and then as
Man,
the officer ward.
no, man, I'm a non-paperwork. I'm a
Okay.
pull them in the office, if they need their rear ends worn out, I've tried to dial back my custom a little bit. As you all
Right.
remember, I used to do that pretty good bit. But
Yeah.
so we'll wear them out. I just think there are other ways to handle business than potentially ruining a Marine's career right off the start because they made a bad decision or maybe even just a mistake. I
Right.
think
Yes, sir.
there are certain times that you can't avoid, and everybody needs to remember that. There's certain times that the company commander, battalion commander, regiment, whatever, can't get around the paperwork, administrative stuff. But I always believed that if there was a way for me to get around it, I was getting around it.
Yes, sir.
We're going to handle it, off the record, so to speak. When I thought when I thought that would be a successful way of getting the Marine back on track, and most importantly, making sure that the Marine understood, um, you know, you you can't do whatever you want, that sort of thing. Pay
Yes,
pay a
sir.
price. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So that's good. We need a lot more with that mindset, and I'll just leave that at that. My next question, sir. So lead, provide, and protect. Like, what ranks in the Corps do all three of these apply, or do they? Lead, provide, and protect.
That applies to every rank. Anybody who is in charge, anybody who's got the responsibility of a single Marine or Marines, that's absolutely what they ought to be doing. I mean, I firmly believe that the rank on our collar, it doesn't matter, what your rank is, but if you're in charge of people, that rank should be used to serve um, and protect your Marines. And I don't mean protect in a cover up sort of way, but protect them, take care of them, because
Right.
your rank when you're in charge, presumably, is because you are senior to those that you are in charge of. You can
100%.
fight fights, and I always believe this with every rank, every promotion I got. I can fight and win fights that my subordinates can't fight and win for themselves. So
Right.
if I'm not doing that for the Marines, then my rank is useless, and by extension, I'm useless.
So essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is, as you moved up in rank, the more you moved up, the less it became about you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, that is the very worst thing you'll ever find in somebody who's in a leadership position. Because let's be clear, I don't confuse the two. Just because somebody's in a leadership position, that doesn't mean they're a leader. They're just in
Okay.
a leadership
Come
position.
on now.
So,
You better preach to them. Preach to them.
yeah, I mean, and so if you're the very worst thing you can find in a leader, in a person in a leadership position, is a selfish person.
Okay.
Because when you have a selfish person in a leadership position, they're doing everything to better their own position in life, their own lot in life. That means then that everything they're doing is going against what they should be doing, which is taking care of the Marines. Beware of that when you're out there. Beware of that.
So that sounds like careerism.
That's exactly what it. Yeah, yes, that's exactly what it is. And sometimes
Okay.
it's always careerism. It's either careerism because the senior person, the officer, or senior enlisted, um, is only doing things to get themselves promoted, or they're just scared. They're cowards and they're afraid to do
Right.
something that might put them at risk. Yeah,
Right. I understand.
both of those are terrible, terrible.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I dealt with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
It's crazy work, right?
Let's go. Let's go.
So what hobby brings you joy and peace, sir?
Oh man, come on. What hobby brings me joy and peace?
Some of these questions that I'm reading are what people wrote down or sent in, and I just wrote it down to be better prepared to ask it
Okay,
more faster.
that's fair. I'm only laughing because Mike, PT. I've always PT has been a mainstay with me from the very beginning. Probably, after I joined the Marine Corps, and I read. Other than that, I don't really have. I never really made a lot of time for hobbies per se. PT 04, read as often or whenever I can, and then I did my best. I don't know if you're gonna torture me with this question, but I did my best to try to balance that with family. but
Okay.
but that was difficult. So yeah, I'm really kind of embarrassed to say, because I've been asked that question before, like, what are your hobbies? And I really got to search for that. I don't. It's always been kind of the Marine Corps or anything associated with the Marine Corps.
Okay, nice. So my hobbies, sir, like I like to read. I definitely like to read. I feel like kind of alluding to what General Mattis said in Call Sign Chaos, like he who fails to read books is like doing himself a disjustice. Like you got to read books, you got to stay educated, and but it helps you stay brilliant in the basics. And I feel like if you stay brilliant in the basics, um, you'll train hard and you'll train right, and you'll train yourself and your Marines the right way.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that.
Right, 100%. So right now, sir, it's we're coming up at 16 minutes. We're gonna take like a 4-minute break and come back on at 20. So I'm gonna turn my camera off and then we'll come back on at 20.
Okay, got it.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
Straight took his ass out. Now he wanted for a man that I had to commit. Yeah, I went to jail. It wasn't shit. Not a quarter to 9. Called my bitch to get me out because I was down for mine. The bitch was a trip call, hung up the phone. Now my only phone call was in the yanking zone. All the shit I did.
All right, we are back with the Real Time Real Talk podcast. We got a very, very special guest with us live streaming on Facebook and the Riverside app. Brad Ward, Colonel, United States Marine Corps retired, and we asked you some questions, and we're going to continue this Q&A, and then we're going to have another segment. If you could recommend 2 books to a reader, civilian or military, what 2 books and why?
That's a good one. Once an Eagle.
Okay.
Once an Eagle. I think for those who have not read that book, you'll find a lot of Well, I think some of the stuff we've already talked about, the two main characters in there and their different leadership styles, and the direction that both of them took, which was kind of opposing. And you have a very effective, good leader like we would all want, and then you have the other character who is not. And in fact, the other character is the selfish, self-centered, careerist sort of thing. So that's probably my all-time favorite. I picked up a book the other day to start reading again called Sense of Honor. I
Okay.
mean, that's not one of my favorite books by any
Right.
means, but most of the people in this audience, I think, would appreciate Sense of Honor. It's an old book written by James Webb, by the way,
Nice.
former Marine and Secretary of the Navy and all that. But
Every
so those two books come to mind, right off the top of my head. Those are two books. But
yes, sir. So 2 books that I'm reading right now. Well, I'm reading a bevy of books, but the 2 as right now that in this moment in time that stick out for me is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson.
yeah,
That's a really good one. And I'm also reading this book right here. It's called Hesitation Kills.
huh. How is
It's
that?
about this female first lieutenant in combat experience in Iraq when like people were like not shunning females in combat, but like it was the whole big deal of, well, are they good enough and all of this and yada yada yada. So she wrote a book about her experience in combat in Iraq during OIF. So I'm reading that one right now.
Is
So
that a Marine lieutenant or Army? Or?
it is. It's a Marine lieutenant, sir.
Okay, good.
Jane Blair.
Blair. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yep. This
All
is
right.
what she looks like.
So she's
Yep.
no longer in the Marine Corps.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure she retired, but
Okay. Blair.
she was over there doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
So
Is
okay,
that a
sir.
fairly
So
new book, Mike?
go ahead. Say again.
I'm sorry. Is that a fairly new book? How old is that?
This book was published in, I think it was 2000.
I wouldn't be.
I want to say 2000. It's a biography.
Okay.
And her husband was also he went to Iraq first. So wait, let me see publication. Yeah, I think it was published in 2000.
Well,
I'm sorry, 2011. Yeah. It was published in 2011.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because 2000, that was before
9/11.
Yeah. Okay. So how did your perspective on military operations evolve throughout your career?
That's probably for the sake of brevity. I'd probably just simply say what I learned over the years, how much operations, exercises, it's all related to diplomacy, international policy, and money. I think that's what I probably realized the most after spending time in different countries doing different things. How much politics is involved, and how much the exchanging of monies from country to country, especially
Yes,
when
sir.
you're talking exercises. That's our way really of pumping money into their economy. That's
Right.
In many cases anyway. Certainly with exercises. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
This one's probably going to get you in the feels a little bit. I don't know who wrote this, but I'm going to ask it. It says, why do you think Marines love and respect you so much?
Love and respect me?
Yes. Why do you think Marines love and respect you so much? Hey, shout out to Colonel Ward.
That's awfully nice of whoever.
And before you answer that, sir, do you remember when we had that brief in the base theater and you kissed me on my forehead?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember that?
I do, man. Yeah,
You straight up kissed me right on my forehead.
That's right, man. That's awfully nice. I really do. That means more than probably most folks in the audience know to hear somebody say that, because that means that there's somebody out there that loves and respects me.
Sir, you know this. Like, sir, come on now. Like, let's not act like you don't do that, sir. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, Marines especially drill instructors, love you and respect you. So we
Well,
want to know, why do you think that?
why?
Why do you think Marines love and respect you so much? There has to be a
Well,
reason.
well, I'd like to think, Mike. I'd like to think, in large part, it's because I was always honest with the Marines. I didn't, I, well, I was honest. I mean, I don't know any other way to say that. Whether it
Right,
was good news, bad news. I'm not here's where I'm probably a little controversial when it comes to leadership. Well, there's a
right,
bunch of areas where I'm probably controversial, but one of them is, for example, if it's cold outside, I'm not the dude who's going to go out in front of the Marines and act like it's not cold. I'm gonna be like, hey,
right,
it's fine. It's cold. It's
right.
cold, fella. It's cold. But hey, we're all cold together. Let's go. So
Yes,
I
sir.
never made up a story. I didn't lie. I was honest. So I think that helped. I think it helped. My dealings with I talked very straightforward with all of you, with all my Marines, whether it was on the drill field or wherever I was. I was always very straightforward. I didn't.
Right.
And then I think number two, and maybe this is the bigger one possibly, at Paris Island at the regiment, I knew exactly what y'all were going through.
Right.
So I could, at night, you, when I laid my head to rest, I knew so many of you weren't. And it hurt me. It hurt me knowing what drill instructors go through, and what was so bothersome to me is the people who didn't know, but they acted like they knew.
Yes, and we're
The
gonna get
people
into
that
that.
were in charge. What's that?
Yep, we're gonna get into that a little bit
Okay.
more too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
trust me,
So
I'm
maybe
like
those are
Moneybag Yo, sir. Like, look at my wrist. I got time today. This is your day. We crossing the line
yeah,
today.
let's cross the line. All right, I'm all in.
But
I'm all in.
but yes, sir. I'm sorry I had to cut you off on that, but like, you kind of stirred me up a little bit because I get emotional when I think about that. What you said with drill instructors, going through a lot, and if it was refreshing to have in that moment in time back then, a commander that was a drill instructor, so he could like legit relate and know exactly what we were going through. So
Yeah.
I think that helped a lot of drill instructors get through and know that, like, hey, like, our regimental commander was a hat, like, like he knows the grind, he knows what it takes. Like I said during my hat plaque ceremony, like, I can remember days sitting in my car and crying tears because my feet hurt so bad and I didn't want to go on a squad bay, but I knew, like, if the recruits had to get trained, I remember sitting going to the head, in the battalion CP, and trying to go to sleep or just sleep, and trying to, at least, because like I was just so tired and exhausted, and I wasn't gonna let the recruit see me, so I might as well just go hide and do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So we're gonna hit some games real quick, sir, just to kind of mix things up a little bit. So
All right.
the
All
the
right.
name of it, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
All right, the name of this first game, sir, is called Do You Know? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you 5 questions, and you gotta if you get it right, you'll hear this, and then if you get it wrong, you'll hear this. So the objective is to not hear any beeps.
Okay.
All right. So what is my first name?
Michael.
Too easy. What training company? What training company did I train recruits in?
Hotel.
Come on now. Shout out to hotel company. What was the first amphibious landing?
I want to say the Bahamas.
Everybody's got that question wrong. I had
What,
Sergeant Major Buckham on earlier. He got that question wrong too. The first amphibious
Nassau.
landing.
Nassau.
First
Oh.
amphibious landing, sir. Not assault. First amphibious landing.
Oh. I should know that. I'm embarrassed. Man, you
Nah, it's all good, sir.
put me on national TV like this, and I don't know that. Okay. Well, what's
Well,
the answer?
the first amphibious landing was Guadalcanal.
Huh.
The
All
first
right.
amphibious assault was New Providence, Bahamas.
Bahamas. Okay. That's all right.
The way when I was a knowledge hat and I would teach this to my recruits, I would tell them, like, if you land in the pit, then that means you're at Guadalcanal because you're landing in the sand. And if you are going bulkhead black line, because recruits, they execute instant and willing obedience to all orders, then
Yeah.
you're assaulting. and then that's how they remembered it. So they knew when they were in the sand pit, they were in Guadalcanal because they like landed, like their feet landed in the sand. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so you got 2 out of 3 right so far. There's 2 more questions left.
All right.
This next question: does MCDP1 allude to commanders not wanting a yes man?
Yes.
That is correct. And the last question, sir, which has nothing to do with well, in a way it does, but for basic grammar in English, what are the 7 coordinating conjunctions? I'll give you the acronym. The acronym is fanboys. So you got 4.
Just give me the answer, Mike. We're not going through that pain.
All right, so you got 4 and nor, right? Fan, and then boys, but, or, yet, and so. So when you're like writing sentences, those are your 7 coordinating conjunctions. That's English 101, sir. That's English 101.
I know. I should have called Debbie in on that one. She would have got it.
Right. Okay. Now this next game is called Who Said This? So I'm gonna read a quote and then you got to tell me who said it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
It's 5 quotes and then we'll go. We'll take another quick break and then we'll go back into asking some more questions. All right. Who said this? I might not change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain who will change the world. Think on it for a second.
I might not change the world, but I'll smart.
I'll give you a hint. Easy E.
Martin Luther. No.
No, Easy E wasn't the person, but that's your hint. He had the same occupation as Easy E.
Dre.
Close, really close. He rapped with Dr. Dre.
Oh man,
his name starts with a T.
Oh,
there you go.
Hold on, starts with Ice T.
Tupac, sir. Tupac said that.
Okay. You know what? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Tupac said that. He said that in an interview. He said, I might not change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain that will change the world. All right. I know you're going to get this one, sir. Knowing that you being the leader and the man that I know you are, I know you're 100%.
Man, I didn't put that pressure on me.
Nah, you're going to get this right. You're going to get this right, I promise. Who said this? I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly.
Jesus.
That is correct.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. 2 more after this question. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversy.
I don't know. Who?
He had a dream back
Martin
in.
Luther.
Yes, Martin Luther King. I knew you. Yeah, I knew you was close, sir. You was close.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Don't forget that you're first Marines. Not all the communists in hell can overrun you.
Chesty.
You want me to read it again?
Chesty?
Yes, that is correct. All right. Last question. Or last quote. Who said this? Ultimately, it was a realization that as an officer, I could have had a greater impact on a large number of Marines.
VW said that. Brad Ward said that.
Who said that?
Brad Ward said that.
Yep, you said that in an interview. That was good, sir. That was good. Not bad.
I should have gotten the Martin Luther King one.
Yeah. No worries, sir. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take another 5-minute break. It's 34-18. We're going to be back on 30 at 39.
All right. Got it, buddy.
Yes, sir. What is important to you? All right, sir. We are back.
All right, all right.
This one's a good question. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
If a drill instructor who was a single mother was being held accountable due to being late to work because of the hours of the CDC, what feasible solutions would you recommend?
Wow, this is taking me back a little ways now. If a female drill instructor is being held accountable, um,
So
yeah, we had
basically, I'm assuming like she was late or something, or didn't have childcare, and I guess she got in trouble.
nah, we
And due to being, yeah, it says due to being late to work because of the hours of the CDC, what feasible solution or solutions would you recommend?
well, we'd have to check. Well, first off, drill instructors are not getting in trouble. I mean, as long as we can, as long as there's not proof that this is a regular occurrence and it's a made up story. Well, I'm assuming everything is legitimate, exactly as we just the question was posed. We got to figure out a way to, if we can't get the CDC to open up earlier, then we've got to adjust our hours. It's just that simple. I mean, you got other hats on the team. You got to work something out.
Right.
That might mean that drill instructor is doing some more at some other parts of the training schedule, the day or whatever. But
Yes, sir.
again, that's I don't
Good
like dumb
answer,
rules.
sir. Good answer. If you decided to write a book, what would be the title?
The Land That God Forgot.
Okay. Why that? You want to elaborate?
Yeah. I'd like to, yeah. I mean, I'd probably, if I were to write a book, I'd probably, because I always refer to Paris Island as the land that God forgot. God didn't forget
Right.
anything, but I always said that. So I never meant
Right.
that, but, no, I'd like to capture some of the stuff that happens, what drill instructors go through. Um, and what Paris Island is all about. I don't think people quite understand. People that's never served a tour at Paris Island, whether it's an officer or drill instructor. I mean, both. It's hard on both, and we all know that. But I don't think people who's actually been in the trenches like that truly understand what leadership challenges, what life's challenges are like at Paris Island. And then you sprinkle in there
Right.
terrible leadership on top of that, and you've just compounded the problem where it's almost unbearable. Like the scenario you just gave me, where a drill instructor, single mother, CDC problems, and I'm assuming, unfortunately, that drill instructor probably is suffering somehow from the chain of command. But yeah, so I'd probably write a book, something like that, the land that God forgot, and I would talk about, because that's what I think I could talk about. I could write something on that. That's the reason.
Nice. How do you view the role of the military in today's world compared to when you first joined?
That's a good question, because I mean, so much has changed. I mean, keeping in mind that I came in almost 4 decades ago now.
God
When
dang.
yeah, I mean, 36 years. Um, so it's quite a bit. When I came in, consider this: Top Gun, the first one, that was fairly new. Heartbreak Ridge, some of those movies. So times have changed since then. But when you watch those movies and you see some of that stuff, you keep in mind. I mean, that's some of that stuff is funny or interesting uh, because that's really what was going on. As Sergeant Major Casillas would always say, a joke is only funny because there's some truth to it. So, you watch any of those movies and you see some of the things that was going on in there, and it's interesting, and sometimes it's funny, but it's true. We did things much differently back then.
Mm.
Um, but I think, as I was saying, change is good, change is necessary. I think we all have to embrace that. But I think in order for the Corps to remain relevant, which is what the Corps is always trying to do, relevant and the most respected, we've got to stick to the basics. We need to remember our organizational discipline. We need to remember individual self-discipline, and to some extent not be affected by some of the social whims. A lot of times drill instructors, for example, will get in trouble simply because there are people afraid of how society is going to react to something that they don't understand is going on at Paris Island. I mean, it's training. There are things that are going to happen in training. As a leader, I can't be afraid of what the news is going to report. I just,
Right.
So anyway, I think how it's changed in that sense. We care much more these days about things that I don't think that was as big of a concern decades ago. But in terms of global threats and the operational horizon and things like that, we're still in every corner of the world postured for a fight. That'll always be. The strategic landscape, though, has changed for us, as opposed to what it was in the 80s. I mean, no longer are we necessarily worried about Russia as we were in the 80s. The military, not militarily speaking, we're not. Its leader, maybe a little bit, because you can't necessarily trust him. But we're worried about remote controlled aircraft, also known as drones. Now we didn't
Right.
worry about that 4 decades ago.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, the landscape has changed in many ways, but in other ways, it's still we always have to remain vigilant in terms of our preparation and our deterrence. efforts.
Yes, sir. What was the most memorable moment of your service?
Huh. Well,
It's a lot to unpack over 36 years.
yeah, it is. That is a lot. And I'll tell you, it's it it's always about the people. You know, the there are a lot of events that happened over my time in the Marine Corps. You know, a lot of memorable things, I suppose you could say, or a lot of pretty intense moments. I could recount stories about when I was in Afghanistan in 2008. You know, I was in some of that tour. I was in arguably the most dangerous place in the world at the time, which was the Kunar province in the Korengal Valley. And I was attached to the army actually, and we were doing dismounted foot patrols through the Korengal Valley. I mean, dismounted foot patrols through the Korengal Valley. That was pretty intense. You know, we were in one moment in one evening. Our little small convoy that I was a part of, we had lost a Vic. It lost it. It was destroyed on the side of a mountain. Sun was setting, temperatures were dropping, the rain was coming, and we had through radio transmission, we knew the Taliban was coming over the mountaintop. So that was pretty intense. As a battalion XO when I was a part of the MEU, we had one particular night where inside of 60 minutes probably, we had a sailor get shot and killed on the continent of Africa. We had a hard landing, one of the helos hard landing, and in the moment, meaning that 45 minutes or so, we didn't know. We were about 40 miles or so off the coast, but we didn't know with that hard landing, you know, how significant it was in terms of the aircraft and the if any casualties. And then we also had what we thought was a man overboard. So that was a pretty intense moment. So I'm rattling off things that I recall that just kind of stick out in my mind.
Yes,
My
sir.
tour is a hat. You know, the camaraderie there, the competition between drill instructors. I'll never forget that. I mean, that was, you know, that was the ultimate, you know, as a drill instructor, the what we were doing in the early 90s, or actually, shouldn't say the early 90s, what we were doing as drill instructors, as you all are doing today. Um, it was incredible. You know, you take a young man or a young woman's life and you turn it around completely. You give them hope, where in some cases you and I know they had no hope. You know,
Right.
but you make a difference like that. That's pretty significant.
Yes,
But
sir.
I'll tell you, man, my taking over the regiment was probably the single most moving time for me. You know, that was like going home for me. That was going home. I knew that taking command of the regiment, that I was among family, uh, and it made it in so many ways much easier for me to be in command. It made it much easier for me to go out in front of the Marines and talk and do what we did, you know, because I understood. And I'll never forget, I still remember like it was yesterday, the very first day I stood in front of the regiment. It took about 4 or 5 days because it was July 4th weekend when I took command. But the first time I stood in front of everybody, I remember my adrenaline was pumping. I felt like a new hat, man, waiting for
In
pickup.
in the all weather,
Yep, that's right. That's right,
I
brother.
remember.
That's it. And that's the first time I said, "Hey, look, you know, we're going to do business the right way. We're gonna follow the. I call it the SOP out of mistake because that's what we used to call it, the SOP. But we're going to follow the RTO. But if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
Right. Yep. I
That's
remember
the
that.
first. That's the first time I said that, and that's when Sergeant Major looked at later. Man, I can't tell you how many people come up to me telling me, you know, how you can't say that sort of stuff. I'm like, hey, look, that's the way we're going to do business. We're not condoning violations at all.
Right.
But I'm just
100%.
saying we're going to live on the edge. We're going to take it all the way up to the line because that's what this country expects. That's what these young men and women expect when they come here. You know,
Right. I used to tell
so
my recruits that all the time. Like, you came here to get trained, so we're going to give you the business. The
that's
business being getting trained the right way.
yeah. That's exactly right, man. That's
Well, sir, like, hurts my heart to ask this, but I have to. So, how did it feel being fired?
oh man, that was well. Okay, so We have a
Or
few minutes, huh?
relieved to be politically correct, but it's
Yeah.
the same
Well,
thing.
yeah, yeah, it is. That's right. It's the same thing. It So let me back it up for the audience because
Okay.
unfortunately, because of the way it all happened, I never got a chance really to. There were a
Right.
few groups that called me out, and I was able to, even after I got Fabian Casillas and I got relieved, I was able to talk with a few, but not, not as a group, not as I would
Right.
have been able to do had it been normal. Anyway,
Yes,
so
sir.
leading up to it, the recruit from First Battalion um, killed himself. So I knew that the CG was getting nervous about that. I knew he was acting funny. He had done some things that were just way out there for him. I mean, I won't even go into all that, but things like his demeanor changed towards me. Just a lot of stuff was going on, and I knew that something was up with him. So I approached him. I went to his office, and I'll tell you this too. The audience probably should know this. I had a really good relationship with General Field. I mean, he let me be Brad Ward. There were many times that I'd go in his office, and he just let me be me. Anyway, so I approached him a week before the relief, and I had no idea though that Sergeant Major Casillas was going to be on the chopping block. I thought it would just be me because I knew that he was scared. He was scared what was going to happen to him. And I assumed that he figured if he could fire me, then the relief would, the pressure would be off of him. He could tell his boss and his boss's boss, hey, I figured out what the problem is down here. It's all taken care of. So I knew that. So I went to him and I said, hey, sir, I know you want to fire me. Let's get after it. Let's do it now. Just fire me now. Don't drag me and Debbie through the long weekend, the July 4th weekend. And, because I just don't want to go through all that. And he looked at me, Mike, and he said, but Brad, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even have the authority to do that. And then he said, but Brad, you and I both aren't going to survive this. If I would have been smarter than I am, I would have hung on to that and I would have done something. I mean, because that was kind of foreshadowing there. You and I ain't both going to survive this. So anyway, so we get through that. I walked out of the office. That was a Thursday afternoon and leading up to July 4th weekend. And I knew, even though I walked down, he said what he said, I knew that he was going to do it. Again, didn't know he was going to include Sergeant Major in it, but I knew he was going to do it. So I was waiting for it. It didn't come Friday, which was a graduation day. We had President's wife was there with us that day. And then Tuesday night, which was July the 4th, I knew the next morning was going to be it. And sure enough, the next morning at 0257, I think it was. I still have the text. 0257, he sent me a text. Brad, be in my office at 0530. So it was just shy of 03, I think it was. He said, be in my office at 0530 and bring Sergeant Major with you. And that's what I knew. So I went in, and Sergeant Major couldn't be there. He ended up going in a little bit later, but I told the CG that I knew that I was his sacrificial lamb. He denied that. He alluded to a couple of ongoing investigations at the time. One was the death. There was one going on in the 4th Battalion as well. I think that was it. It seemed like there might have been something else. But I say, so those are both ongoing investigations. They're not even done yet. And I've got 2 weeks left before I retire. Give up command. Everything right now you've known for a while. Why you're and I think that's when I said everybody knows. I'm your sacrificial lamb. He denied that, and that was it. I mean, I walked out. Then later Fabian went in, and about an hour and a half or so later he went in and he did it to him, and it was rough. I mean, that close to retirement, that close to just giving up command, going out the way I would have wanted to go out, with all of you there. And what hurt the most was just, I mean, this dude, like we've been talking, if you're in charge, if you're a person in leadership position, you're supposed to be courageous, you're supposed to be selfless, all these things. And he was demonstrating just the opposite. So what he did though was create this narrative for his boss that led his boss to believe that myself and Sergeant Major Casillas, but really me, created this a permissive environment. He told the Lieutenant General Imes that I'd created an environment where drill instructors thought they could do whatever they wanted to do, and officers were just turning their heads and letting them get away with it. Well, heck, I had a finish report 2 weeks before I got relieved. I had a fitness report from him and Lieutenant General Imes. And of course, it had nothing but glowing, the stuff you would hope to get on the fitness report and all that stuff. Um, General Imes had been at the depot, I think 2 months before that. He knew none of that nonsense. None of that was true, but he just took his word for it. And Sergeant Major Casillas and I never, we never really stood a chance because he convinced them, hey, we got a new commandant coming in. Commandant is not going to want to deal with this. I've got the problem solved. No need looking down here anymore. So what bothered me, the most above all that was Fabian Casillas. I mean, he just did not deserve that. I mean, for me, I was retiring, but Casillas, that's the type of leader our Marine Corps needs at higher levels, much higher levels. Because I'm going to tell you in the audience something. To have a sergeant major like him who had never had a problem coming into me and saying, "Hey, sir, that actually is not a good idea. What you want to do?" Or, "Hey, sir, don't do that just yet." That's what every officer needs by their side.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that. Now I will tell you, when he would tell me something like that, now and it very seldom ever happened, but if I happen to not agree, whether it was a punishment or whatever, he would walk out of the office and act as though he came up with the idea himself. That's why, and so you couple that with the fact that he is intelligent as he is, he's articulate as he is, he's as experienced as he is, and then we just rip all that right out from under him. He ought to be at the 2 and 3 star level. So Brad Ward was retiring. I was moving on. It's a shame what he did to my family, but I was retiring. But what he did to Fabian, I mean, that, and everybody knows that essentially, I mean, his career's done. I mean, he didn't have to get out, but he leaves Paris Island, he goes to the West Coast, and he's doing a job that he was qualified to do that job when he was a gunnery sergeant. But I talked a long time, man. I'm gonna stop right there and let you ask some questions.
No, it's okay, sir. You said a lot. Well, I'm glad you were able to control your narrative and tell the truth, the truth of what happened and everything. And it was just unfortunate how things played out. But as you know, the drill instructors, the Marines in the regiment, drill instructors or not, we all respect you and loved you. We still do. We still consider you the GOAT. Me personally, I don't believe that drill instructors could just do whatever they want and officers turn a blind eye, because I used to see a lot of hats cutting grass. I used to see a lot of hats sat down.
Yeah.
Marines were being held accountable for, mistakes or, wrongdoings. But that was just unfortunate. And I'm glad you were able to come on and, at least. So like, that was going to be my next question. Like, if you could have addressed the Marines in a formation and your final formation, like, what would you have said to all of us?
Oh, you mean not getting relieved,
No,
just
no,
in
no, no,
general,
no.
like
Like if you were able to address, like, have one final regimental formation or town hall, whatever it is, it's called, where all of the regiment comes together.
yeah, huh? Well, I would have started off by saying, which is no surprise, I'd hope not anyway, how much I love all of you and how much I respect you for what you do, and how sorry I am that there are those out there who pretend like they know and they don't really, and how sorry I am for those who don't know anything at all and they don't care about what you're doing. But I would ask that you keep doing what you're doing and doing it in the manner that you do. I got you. In the manner that you're doing it, regardless of outside noise of those who don't understand and don't care to know and don't respect it. And remember the professionalism as you all did. As I've said so many times, the impact drill instructors have on recruits' lives, we can't even. I mean, you can't. You honestly, I don't want to sound like a commercial, but you can't put a price tag on that. There are grown men and women across the world right now that the last voice they remember, the last face they remember, are the face and voices of their drill instructors. That's the kind of impact. They'll forget family members, they'll forget friends' names, but you and I know those kids, they're not kids, they're those grown men and women in their 80s and 90s. They're still talking about their drill instructors. That's the impact. So I would ask that y'all would just keep doing that and treat each other a little better. That's one thing I look back at that and I wish that I could have made more of a difference there. With that, I never understood why at Paris Island, um, it just seemed to be okay for NCOs to treat NCOs the way that hats do in so many cases. Not all cases. You know what I mean?
I
I could
don't.
never. That yeah. Well,
I don't.
that's a culture thing.
I was trained the right way in hotel company, so
Good.
I don't know what
Good.
that means. But
Oh wow. Yeah, all right. All right. All
um,
right.
no. So is there anything in your military career that you regret?
Oh man. Yeah, I'll share something with you.
Okay.
I'll share something with you. I guess that I'm sharing it publicly. Yeah, there is. There's one thing that I probably regret more than anything, and I've never said this out loud other than to Debbie. But during my time there, I lost a battalion commander, and if I had it to do over now, I didn't relieve that battalion commander. The process went through me, and the person that ended up relieving the battalion commander had to get my recommendation. And my recommendation was no, to not relieve the battalion commander. I didn't believe that the battalion commander deserved it. That was in writing, and then I had a face-to-face conversation with the person that ended up relieving the battalion commander. But what I believed not long after that is what I should have done is on the spot then put in my papers to retire. I should have
Mm,
stood stronger for that situation because that man, that Marine deserved better. Me just simply not agreeing with it, not recommending it, and sort of arguing the point. That's all well and good, but I should have taken a stronger stand. So
yes, sir.
I'll regret that to the last day that I'm still on oxygen.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll kind of shift this a little bit. Kind of take some of that heat off of you since you've been in the hot seat a little bit with the last few questions. Because I know I alluded to it earlier when we were talking about at the very beginning of like kind of what I've been up to since you were relieved of command and everything. So like obviously, so like my last cycle um was December 8th, 2023. We graduated as First Battalion Hotel Company. So we had did a switch where two companies from First Battalion went over to Second, and then two companies from Second Battalion went over to First. So Golf Company and Hotel Company went over to First Battalion, and then I think Delta and Bravo went over. I could be wrong. Either Delta, Bravo, or Delta and Alpha went over to First Battalion, and so like it was like it would have been like two hotel companies on deck at the same time, which is not a thing. So we went we no like really like that's what it would have
Yeah.
been like per the NTS, and it was kind of weird for a little bit, but we graduated that cycle First Battalion Hotel Company, and that's when I started like the whole cumulative of the lack of sleep over the last 36 months, the poor sleep hygiene, the not really being in drill instructor shape, but not really being in like healthy, optimal shape. And we all know what drill instructor shape feels like. Like
Oh
you feel
man.
good, but it's not a healthy, the healthiest lifestyles in the long run. And
Yeah.
talking to my psychologist and psychiatrist now, like going back over that, looking at all that in hindsight, it took its toll on me. So I was having some mental health issues 100%. I wanted to be a chief drill instructor. That didn't happen. Um, I don't know, maybe they just thought I wasn't good enough or something or whatever. But when the teams list was read, they had me as a third cycle senior drill instructor for my seventh. That would have been my seventh cycle, and that would have been 3 straight senior drill instructor cycles. And I didn't want to, like, me personally, I came to Paris Island to be a drill instructor, but to like optimize my time there. Like I wanted to take advantage of every opportunity, and I wanted to do every billet. Um, but I mean, I wasn't able to do that. But that part of it is neither here nor there. So Fast forward later in December, I'll just start. I was already feeling bad during the cycle, but I just never really said anything because you know how that stigma is of don't
Yeah.
say anything, don't go to medical, you're weak, blah 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 blah, and I did that. Like I continue to. I mean, because let's be honest, as a senior drill instructor, am I really like running and screaming all that much like a green belt? No, we all know that, and
Shouldn't be.
but right, you shouldn't be. You should not.
Yeah,
You should not be a green belt with a black belt on. You should
that's
not.
right. That's dangerous for
But
everybody.
it is. So so I finished that cycle, and then I was struggling a lot mentally with getting sleep. Like it would be nights where I couldn't sleep. It's like my body wanted to still work, or in my mind, I was still in hat mode, but I couldn't even enjoy Outpost. Right. So fast forward to January, I go to career school seminar, or as you were, I go to career school resident in Lejeune, and I don't make weight. Um, I was like 18% body fat or something when I left, and then or whatever it was, and then when I get over there, I don't make tape, and or on the machine either, right? So then, like that wasn't the icing on the cake, but I came back, like obviously because they sent me back, right? And then I didn't want to. I didn't like working in the S4. Like the S4 just didn't do anything for me, and that's another level of stigma that like people like, oh well, if you're in the four, you did something wrong or you're in trouble or whatever. All the sat down hats go to work there, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not even in trouble. Like I'm about to, my ribbon is about to hit the system here in a little bit because like I've done like 6 long, hard, demanding cycles or whatever. That's what I would tell myself. So then I was having even greater mental health challenges all up until the point where like my command had to intervene, and shout out to Sergeant Major Tyler because she was literally there for me, and First Sergeant Polk, who he wasn't even in my unit at the time. He was the first sergeant for support battalion,
Yeah.
and he escorted me to the help that I needed. Like he took charge of that whole situation, like in the midst of my actual chain of command at the time at my original unit that I was in, and him and Sergeant Major Tyler took care of me. And then, long story short, like I went through a bunch of therapy and stuff like that. I was referred to a med board, right? So on the med board, the informal med board, um, they found me unfit to continue to serve. Like they said that my doctor had diagnosed me, and this is important because the social media page 11 that everyone likes to talk about, they never talk about the part where you're supposed to share the Marine Corps story and tell stories of triumph and how Marines you know make it through and tell the Marine Corps story. So and that's what I'm doing right now in this story, right? So what was I at? So I lost my train of thought. I forgot. Oh, so yeah, so I was at First Battalion, Sergeant Major Tyler and First Sergeant Polk, kind of intervened, got me the help they need, and then while I was in the midst of me getting treatment, I was referred to the informal physical evaluation board, right? And
Yeah.
what will always stick out to me is the non-medical assessment, right? Where I'm not going to insult your intelligence, sir. You know exactly what a non-medical assessment is, right?
Yeah.
But what disturbed me was the comments that were put on there, which basically said that I had no potential for future service and my own personal ambitions and something else. I can't remember verbatim, but that like it's the recommendation that I be separated from the military. So I was like, okay, so because I'm having mental health problems, um, like I need to be separated. Like, okay, so I went through that informal process, right? And then the findings came back from that informal process, and they found me 90% disability for the VA, and then they found me 70% disability, permanent and total retirement for the DoD. So they was going to permanently retire me with 70%, which obviously, if you know anything about that process, you need 30% or higher to qualify for medical retirement, and then um, on the VA side, depending on what your percentage is, will depend on like how much the VA will pay you a month in your disability pay, right? And I didn't want that because I know I still have a lot left. Like I was just going through a rough patch. Um, Backtracking, I had lost that the year prior to that, which was 2022. I lost my father in March. He died March 11th, 2022, and I was on quota then, and I went to the funeral and everything, all types of jacked up. Like I was just, it was rough. So I was dealing with that, and then fast forwarding, I wanted to go back to work, and then it was this whole hoopla. Shout out to First Sergeant Smith, who he just retired recently. Shout out to him real quick. So him and First Sergeant Polk worked out that deal for me to get off quota, and after being on quota for way too long, and then I went back as a experienced drill instructor, and taught drill and everything. And then now fast forwarding, like I just had to mention that part. And then fast forwarding, we had so those findings and everything came back. So I was like, no, I'm not taking this. So I appealed because that was my right? And this is where like battles just aren't in combat. Like there's battles that Marines face daily. It's battles that Marines face daily. And that was my battle, like getting over that mental hump, like just getting that all it was I just needed help. And people say, a lot of the times, oh well, if you need help, go seek it. I think a lot of Marines don't do that because they're afraid, especially in the mental health realm, that their career is over if they say like, I think I might have thoughts of hurting myself, or I'm having morbid ideations, and either the leaders in that Marines unit might not necessarily know how to deal with that, or they cast judgment, or like they make up excuses, or they threaten to write counselings and do all of these other things besides getting the Marine the help that they need without judgment. And then they feel some type of way, right, when that Marine is having a reaction to how they're being treated. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, how can you expect someone to just be happy-go-lucky when you know that you don't believe in them, essentially, as sad as that is to say, right? So I went through the formal board process. I talked to the board members. It was basically like going to court. At least that's what it felt like. And they were asking me questions, like how I have I been since then, things of that sort. And I ended up winning the board. They found me fit to continue to serve. And no thanks to you as well. Like you wrote me a recommendation. Sergeant Major Casillas, shout out to Sergeant Major Casillas. Sergeant Major Casillas wrote me a recommendation. A bevy of individuals that believed in me, wrote me recommendations, pre drill instructor duty and post and current drill instructor duty, because I thought it would be important for the board members to see like how I perform before the drill field and after and during. So like it's just the Lord obviously like carrying me through, and me, having that confidence and knowing myself and seeking self-improvement. Because Sergeant Major Tyler asked me, she was like, are you willing to go get help? And I'm like, yes, 100%. Like nobody's having to force me to go get help. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way my career can be over from this, because this is a leadership principle I'm exercising. I'm knowing myself. I need help mentally, and then I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
So that came to fruition, and then I beat the med board, and then obviously my reenlistment is in the system and approved. So I got that one knocked out, and I'm in zone for gunnery sergeant, and I'm going to get promoted to gunnery sergeant in a few months. So the Lord is just good, sir. You know what I mean?
That's it, brother. That's the truth.
Shout out to you though, because this is your moment. But I just had to get it off my chest too.
Yeah. Well,
So we had it,
congratulations.
and thank you, sir, for your recommendation, because like you almost had me in tears when you typed out.
Well, good. I'm just so thankful. I'm so happy that it all worked out for you, Mike. I really am.
Yes, sir.
Man. Yeah.
All right, sir. We're gonna start with some more games real quick, and then we're gonna take a pause and another 5-minute pause. Let me see.
Games. Oh man,
Yep,
what kind of games you got?
All right. This one, I'm pretty sure you know this one, sir. What are the 3 branches of government?
Oh, the 3 branches. The legislative.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
What do we got? The legislative, the executive, the judicial.
Yes, sir. Good job, sir. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. I'm pretty sure you know this one too. On the speedometer in a standard vehicle, what does RPM stand for?
Revolutions per minute.
Oh, come on now. You'll be surprised how many people don't know that. All right, sir. Math for Marines. You ready?
Yeah.
2x plus 4 equals 20. Solve for x.
2x plus 2x.
2 plus 4 equals 20. Solve for x. You can write it down if you want to.
What is that, Abe?
Oh, you can't cheat, sir. Oh, you got to do it yourself. My teacher used to tell me you got to be able to show your work. Shout out to Mr. Wagner. Michael, this is how he used to talk to me. Sir, he used to talk like this. Michael, just quit it and learn the math problem. Oh, I wonder how Mr. Wagner's doing. But yeah, that's how he used to talk. Like I used to get on his nerves so bad. Like when I come to class, he was like, Michael, just quit it. Just quit it. Learn the algebra. Yeah. All right, another game, and then we're gonna take another break and then wrap this thing up. I don't want to keep you too long. Okay. This one, this game is called Two Truths and a Lie.
Oh
two
man.
truths and a lie. All right, this is about me, so you have to guess which one's
Okay.
which one's a lie and which ones are true.
Okay.
All right, so my mother gave birth to 12 children. I'm an adopted child, and every cycle as a drill instructor, I fell in front of my recruits. 2 of those are true, and 1 of those is a lie.
Your mother has, did you say 12 children?
Yeah, so my mother gave birth to 12 children. I am an adopted child, and every cycle as a drill instructor, I tripped and fell in front of my recruits.
That's a lie.
Which one?
The tripped and fell every single cycle.
Nah, yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay.
About 3 of them though. About 3 of them as a green belt. Like I don't know what it was. I would always fall in front of them. And then one
but not
time, one of the
everyone.
recruits had the nerve to try to help me up. I'm like, man, if you don't get out of here, now scream my sir.
Well, and then the other, let's see.
The other 2 were truths. So my mother did give birth to 12 children, and I am adopted. That's why I have 2 last names.
Okay. All right. Hey, let me ask you. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What is the one phrase that I heard you say in the very beginning that still sticks with me today?
Well, on the Crucible?
Yep.
That's weird. That's weird. That's weird. We're just navigating through the Crucible with no compass. That's weird. That's weird. We're going from point A to point B, and we're not using our compass. That's crazy.
That's good. Okay, that'll end the games because that's perfect.
Right.
I'm so glad you remembered that. That was funny, man. I was telling Debbie about that just the other day, man.
I'm glad that memory sticks in with you, sir.
Yeah, that was a good moment. I remember you doing that, man. That's weird that you're now.
I mean, it was weird to me. It was just weird.
That was funny, man.
Like you have a whole map and a compass, but yeah, you're just walking around and then wondering why you're lost. You're not using the tools that have been provided for you.
Oh man, that's funny. Good memory.
All right, so we're gonna take a 5-minute. We're gonna come back at 1 hour 23 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
I do with it. We got Bow Wow in the house. My man Lil Zane, Lil Wayne, Sammy Saint took. This one's too
Step to the fight that I feel gets back. Cause they know I'm the over the wall type of dog. So many back to back. Yes, they call me Lil Sammy so soft. I'm father. All the promises, yeah, I know. I rescue when it's time to compete. On the field, on the court, over any beat the break. And you know it when you see your clone. And right now, that's all I see going on. Game time, all I think about is bring out on the trophy. If your team's better than mine, you really gotta show me. Really gotta beat me. Really gotta trash talk this team. Get to my squad back home. Cause I don't lose too much. Matter of fact, I ain't never lost at all. When I'm playing hardball, if you want the man about to pitch to me, understand, I'm like brick, let people to the wall. right before the eyes. Oh, I got you out without a doubt. I got you out. Got you by surprise. Right before the eyes. Whispers to the wall. Ain't nothing that came off
Shots to stay on my job, throwing the pop, keep pitching. I'm in the kitchen making radio rock. And shoes on the bird. I be choosing with all my words, throwing eggs at them chicken heads, begging on the curb to get from a bird. A fast baller with a curve, have a spot at home, telling the bridges in the third. Show you the herd, who I'm doing and what I'm doing is false and what's true and girl, listen, they come to the stand, they call me Sam, they call out that other kid with just a mark, so I made them retire. See, we all got a base, and we hold our own, but when I come up the bat, we go on, come on. This shit was song, cause they know what the drill is going out of the bird into your automobile. I hope it ain't your Range Rover that you spit your change over. I'm in the dugout with my tongue, I play a game so hard.
by surprise. Yeah, right before the eyes. Oh, I got you out without a doubt. I got you out. Got you by surprise. Right before the eyes. Whispers to the wall. Ain't nothing that came off.
Yeah, Weezy rock with this, you know I'm getting it. Is the Kennedy, you know, and I keep the trumpet swinging, slinging that iron. Pitch on the block like Nolan Ryan. Too open for TV, you won't see me, I'm right in the streets. I'm a hustler, people, my life in the streets. Watch the game, get your life in the sheets. My watch, my chain, and my teeth cost. That way I would never cheap talk. And oh, sweetheart, she call me sweet daddy. And she gladly love the way that daddy batted. Yeah, baby, Weezy Weezer, play, baby. And I don't share, baby, so if you're searching for something, nothing here, baby. Catch me throwing that 80 and your latest Bentley going out. And Weezy never hit a foul. Don't hit pop flies, I'm knocking about the park, and after the game's over, we gon' be there after the
By surprise. Right before the eyes. Oh, I got you out without a doubt. I got you out. Got you by surprise. Right before the eyes. Whispers to the wall. Ain't nothing that came off the wall. Got you by surprise. Right before the eyes. Oh, I got you out without a doubt. Got you out. No rascals. Got you by surprise. Right before the eyes. Whispers to the wall. Ain't nothing that came off the wall.
Alrighty, we are back. Sir, I can't let you off the hook. We got a couple more games before we get into some more
Come
questions.
on, man. I thought we were going to
gotta-
end it with the good. That's weird.
We
That's
are,
the
we
first-
are, sir. We are. Well, we gotta make up for lost time, sir. You know what I'm saying? All right, here we go. The name of this game is Who Said This? So I'm gonna read it, and you just gotta tell me who said it. Are you ready?
I thought we did that.
Yeah, we did, but this is different answers.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, this ain't Texas. Woo, ain't no hold 'em. Hey, so lay your cards down, 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 down. You want me to sing it? Because it's lyrics. I'll sing it for you, sir. If you want me to, it's lyrics. It's lyrics to a song.
Okay, sing it.
This ain't Texas. Whoa, ain't no hold 'em. Hey, so lay your cards down, 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 down.
You got me, but I don't know.
Beyonce, sir. Beyonce said that.
Oh, all right.
She's from Texas, and you're from Texas. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm not.
All right. Well, you're probably not gonna get this next one. This artist is also from Texas, so that'll be your hint.
Okay.
I get money. I'm a star, 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 star.
You're right.
Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion, sir. Come on. How you know Easy-E, but you don't know Megan Thee Stallion? That's crazy work.
Well,
Crazy work,
Eazy-E's
sir.
from
Crazy
80s.
work. All right. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a scenario game of what would you do. Okay. So you're driving down the street, right?
Okay.
And the cops pull you over.
Hmm.
They pull you over. They come up to the window. You roll the window down. They say, sir, like, you haven't done anything wrong. You weren't speeding. Like, this isn't a traffic stop, but we're looking for a fugitive who stole like 3 cases of MREs and probably a couple of moonbeams. And they're a wanted criminal. and they show you a photo of who it is, and it's Sergeant Major Casillas. Are you going to dime him out, or are you just going to tell the cops you don't know who that is?
I I've gotten. I don't even recognize that photo. I don't.
All
I
right,
don't. I
bet.
don't even know. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Don't know who
Okay.
that is.
You don't know, sir? I don't know. All right.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. That was good. That was fun. All right. Let's get back into some more questions. All right. What advice do you have for young service members starting their career?
Uh, what advice? I would tell them, as Fabian Casillas and I used to always do on Wednesday mornings. Graduation week. I would tell them the most important thing to do is learn your job. Learn your job. Jump into MOS school and learn your job. Make it so that when you get to your first duty station, even though you're a young PFC, maybe a Lance Corporal, make yourself indispensable. Make yourself, you're the one that Marines, junior, senior, peers, whatever, come to
Right.
you for answers. Make it so that your seniors, whether they're NCOs or staff NCOs or possibly even the officer, is comfortable with leaving the shop, the whatever, and going home for the day because they know you're still in the kitchen cooking.
Right.
Make yourself that good. And then the other thing, and Sergeant Major Casillas was so good at this, he used to always tell them, and it was perfect, and it applies to everybody, to be honest, but he used to say, the good Marines, good people, they don't go looking for friends.
Right.
It's only the raggedy ones that go looking to make a friend. So
Right.
beware when somebody's trying their best to pull you into their circle, they're probably not doing the right thing. So
Interesting.
separate yourself from the drunks. So what I
Okay.
would say though is learn your job first and foremost. Learn your job.
Yep. That alludes
And
to a leadership principle as well called be technically and tactically proficient.
that's right. That's right. Yep.
Um, good stuff, sir. Good stuff. Are there any decisions that you have made that you still reflect on today?
Any decisions? Well, yeah, yes, the one that we talked about earlier. I mean
Okay.
that decision to not that was a decision. Yes, the one that we talked about. That's the one that haunts me the most. I'll tell you though. Besides that, throughout my career, there were I can rattle off many instances where I was going head to head with my boss.
Right.
And it was always about about a Marine, and something that I felt like was a disservice to the Marine. Um, I don't regret a single one of those. The amount of times I got bloody over stuff like that, and Sergeant Major Casillas and I together on so many occasions, as you and whoever's listening would know, went up to the head shed, and so he and I together, I don't regret. I mean, I don't regret a single thing. Casillas, he ain't afraid of anybody or anything. That
Right.
guy
What?
he called me tonight and asked me and told me he needed some help. I wouldn't even ask him what it was
Right.
about. I just need to know when to get there.
I need you to text me his number, sir, to see if we can get him on the line.
Oh, you want him on the line right now?
Yeah, if you could text me his number, I'll call him and see if he can if he picks up.
Okay.
Um, while you're doing that, sir, so empathy is now the 15th leadership trait. What are your thoughts? Do you think Marines are ignorant to empathy? And how do you define empathy in your own words?
This business of leadership is, in my opinion, it is just about being a human being and recognizing we all stumble. We've all got some baggage. We've all got our own challenges. Just understanding people, understanding the challenges that they have, and being a human being towards them. We've got rules and regulations. We have to follow those, of course. But I don't think the quick to pull a gun and shoot somebody in the forehead is the way to do it. I believe that putting yourself in their situation, understanding why they might have done or not done what they were supposed to do. I think these things are important. I don't just looking on the surface and reacting to that is, in my opinion, just not the way to do it. I think
Yes, sir.
doing some research to figure out the history behind it all.
Right.
Understanding the human being.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, you're
So yes.
challenging me with this text thing. I want you to know that
Oh,
right
it's
now.
okay, sir. Good to go. I feel like, so for me, like with the leadership principles, I think my favorite one is develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates, because I feel like the Marines under you that work for you, that are in the trenches and that are putting in that work, if they have a sense of responsibility and a sense of purpose, and you give them tasks to accomplish, and they feel like they are part of the team, that what they are doing is contributing to um, the mission is going to get accomplished. I
Yeah, yeah.
truly think that.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to jump in there and tell you, I don't disagree. I mean, that's huge. That's vitally important. My favorite, the one that I believe is the most important, is selflessness,
Okay.
selflessness. Because I just think everything we do is encompassed in the selflessness trait. I mean, if you're a selfish human being and you're put in a leadership position, you're
Hmm.
going to do damage to that unit and to some, if not, a lot of Marines. So to me, selflessness. But that's the hard part about being, an effective leader, in my opinion, or in a leadership position, certainly, but effective leader. I mean, to me, leadership is not complicated, but it's god dang, it's hard. It's hard because if the you know you throughout any given day, a selfless leader is giving everything they have to the unit and to the individual Marines. I mean, that's just what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So at the very end of the day, that selfless leader is the one who's exhausted. Everybody's going home, but that one person's still left back. That person's light is the only light left on in the building, so to speak, because they've taken care of everybody else's problems all day long, and now it's time to get after their own, administrative requirements or whatever. So
Right.
selflessness,
Okay.
selflessness.
Yeah, with the leadership trait, let me see. For me, it's empathy, like straight off the top of the dome. And when it was only 14, I would say initiative. I would say initiative, taking the initiative, because that takes
Yep.
you a long way. But now empathy is gonna forever be my favorite. While we're waiting for Sergeant Major Casillas to respond, let me.
He might, you might, Fabian. No telling what Star Major's out there doing. He might
Right.
be, tired. What is today? Today's Saturday. Yeah. So,
Yeah, he's probably doing something, but
and it's
I'm gonna get him on the on there on a episode too.
oh, good,
I'm gonna just
good.
reach out to him and have a sit down with him as well.
Okay,
Um,
good. He'll like
oh,
that.
he's at a Clippers game.
Is
Yeah,
he?
he just texted me back. He's at a Clippers game. I'm gonna
Good
just
for
tell him
him.
to enjoy yourself, and we'll get him later.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
All right. If the Marine, I think I already asked you that already. Um, what decisions as a senior leader are the easiest decisions to make, and vice versa?
What decisions are well, the easiest decision to make as a senior leader? To me, if the decisions where somebody would come to me saying, "Hey, sir, we've got this issue. Here's how we can help the Marine." And and we can help the Marine. It's not going to be it's not going to cause any other issues, whatever. To me, helping the Marine, whatever. That's a tricky sort of question. I don't, easiest problem to me was always if we've got to sacrifice in some place in order to help out a Marine and another, then to me it was just that was easy.
Yes, sir.
Those weren't hard for me. Somebody come
Okay,
to me with something like that was easy.
makes sense. All right, sir. This is gonna be the last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up for this great episode. From what I've been told, there's been a lot of people in the comments and streaming and everything. Okay. Last question. What is the best recruit training regiment company under what is the best recruit training company? Give some examples of great things you have witnessed drill instructors accomplish while you were the regimental commander.
Okay, I could do that. I'm not claiming the best company.
So
I ain't doing
basically, what he's saying is, y'all, is hotel company is the best. We got it, sir. We good. We understand. We
Man, we
understand.
had
It's okay.
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it's
sir, like no, and I'm not even like biased or anything, but I mean, while you were regimental commander, the Eagle Globe and Anchor was gold on the parade deck for a good minute because of hotel company mainly. So I'm just
but
saying, like, these are facts. It is my duty, per the social media page 11, to tell the Marine Corps story. And
okay,
some good drill was being conducted.
all right.
But
I won't. I won't
give us some
argue.
examples, sir, of some great things you have witnessed drill instructors accomplish while you were the regimental commander.
Well, I'll start with just watching young drill instructors
Every
develop. What's that?
no, I said every
Yeah, young drill instructors developing. Seeing them when they first began. As a brand new drill instructor, brand new hat, and then watching them over the cycles, just developing not only their competence level as being a drill instructor, but their confidence as well. That was always so encouraging to Sergeant Major Casillas and I to see that, and we look for that. We look to see how they were developing as drill instructors because it's hard. It's a whole new MOS. I mean, it's literally a new MOS, and
right,
you're thrown in the lion's den with nothing but Type A personalities, a group that's in so many cases so experienced, and you're the new guy, new gal, whatever, new
right,
Marine, as a sergeant or a staff sergeant. So that's tough. So watching that was something. But other than that, we had cases of drill instructors saving lives, saving
right,
recruits' lives, and that's those stories of drill instructors finding, recognizing in the eyes of a recruit that recruit is not doing well physically, something's not right, pulling them out of the formation, getting them out of the crucible, and then saving their life because of it. That sort of stuff. To me, that was, or the cases where drill instructors had a recruit who wanted to quit, and this happened regularly. Wanted to quit and had 1,000 excuses, but the senior or the heavy or whoever it was would tell the company commander, "No, sir, no, man, we got to keep. We can train this one." And then for me to hear about those stories later, they wanted to keep that recruit. They didn't want to get rid of the recruit. And then 9 weeks later, they're graduating that recruit. To me, man, you can't beat stories like that. You just that's what Paris Island is all about, changing
right.
lives. And that's what y'all do. That's what y'all do.
That's some good stuff. I had my moments a little bit on the island, legacy. But I mean, sir, like, it's okay to say hotel company is the best company. It's okay. It is okay, sir. It's fine. We're all it's all one sacred mission. We're all making Marine.
That's right. Y'all are all the best in the world, man. Y'all
Right.
all were the envy of the world. That's what I will say. Every company's the
100%.
envy of the world.
Well, sir, it's been a pleasure to have you on as a guest. Once we end this live, just stick around. My production team wants to talk to you a little bit offline, just for a few minutes, and then yeah, like, this was awesome, sir. I thank you for coming on. Thank you for supporting me and my podcast. And everything that we've talked about and discussed is very, very good. And I know that we said a lot and the listeners will be able to get something from it, sir. So I thank you
Well,
for coming on. Shout out to Colonel Ward, USMC Retired.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day.
and thanks,
Yeah.
Michael. I appreciate it. Really, I
Yes,
truly
sir.
do
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
the opportunity.
Yes, sir. So
I'll
that
stick
is
around.
it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for tuning in to the Real Time Real Talk podcast with another episode with our special guest, the GOAT, Colonel Ward.
Crazy and out of control. Make you wanna pull out a lot. Just chill. Sun don't wanna stop. Losing homies really hit the most.